Hi everyone, good evening. Uh, it's indoors today, not outside. We've been having showers every evening the past few days, so it's still raining outside, and unfortunately, this is not a waterproof phone, so I can't run the risk of getting it wet while recording this video. So I decided to stay indoors. Um, Today, I thought I'll share with you a rather serious episode which happened in the life of one of my friends. Sometimes we do things which we regret later on in life, and it takes a lot of struggle to overcome that regret and move on. So, this was one such episode in the life of one of my friends. Uh, you know, um, this guy was working in Delhi, and he used to visit his native place in Kerala once every year to meet everyone. It used to be a trip of about 10 to 15 days. That's all he could take off from his work. And in that time, he would make it a point to visit as many of his close relatives as possible. He spent some time at his own house and go back. So long as he was unmarried, this was fine. Once he got married, uh, he also needed to visit his in-laws' place during this trip. So his visits to the other people around were curtailed a bit. He couldn't fit everything in those 2 weeks. He managed as best as possible. In some cases, he used to make a call and usually. So what were these mandatory visits? They were to his aunts and uncles and cousins who were still in Kerala, close relatives, family, people he had grown up with, people who had been part of his early years of life, etc. We were in touch mostly through telephone, occasionally WhatsApp and all that. It's not as if we were speaking every day, but we were fairly close. We knew that we could always reach out to one another any time of day, one message, and we were in a conversation. So that was the kind of understanding or level of comfort we had with each other. It doesn't always take daily calls to say, hey, hello, how are you, to have that closeness. You can have closeness even this way, provided you know each other well. So that was the kind of relationship I had with him. Anyway, so uh, last year, not last year, 2019, during his annual visit, he made the trip and went back, and there were a couple of people whom he could not visit, one aunt and one uncle. He just telephoned them and spoke to them. And you know how aunts are. See, he is my age, so if you're talking about his uncles and aunts, they're all going to be in their close to 80s, 70s, 80s, slightly elderly people. Now, don't call me elderly. I don't consider myself elderly. So, that's just a point to be noted. But yeah, you have to face the realities. So, as you get on in life, your next generation is going to be that much older. So, you have to give them that leeway. So when they spoke to him on the phone, they were saying, "Oh, I missed you. I wanted to see you," and all that stuff. And he said, "What to do? I didn't have enough time. I have to rush back." And so that happened. Last year, thanks to all these pandemic and travel restrictions, he could not make that trip at all. He remained in Delhi. So they used to have WhatsApp video calls occasionally with the people and all that. And this uncle and this aunt, both of their health took a turn for the worse during the course of last year. Not due to this virus, but general old age and associated problems. So since they already had some pre-existing problems like blood sugar and blood pressure, high blood pressure, and etc., they were always at risk. If they fell seriously ill and needed to be hospitalized, it was always going to be a risky situation, because you could take a turn for the worse very quickly. That's exactly what happened actually, and both of them passed away towards the end of 2020. And so they passed away, and this guy called me a couple of weeks later. He pinged me. He said, I want to talk to you. I said, yeah, fine. And we picked up the phone and started talking. And he said, I feel so guilty that I didn't make that trip to their place in 2019. I thought, when I come next year, I can always visit them. What's one time I can afford to. It so happened that even the previous year, he had actually not visited them. So 2 years in a row, he had not been to their place. The last he had seen them was in 2017. So he was just thinking aloud to me, saying, considering that I didn't go in 2018, I should have made it a point to go this year in 2019. Considering their age, I should have factored it in. I feel so guilty. They were so close. I was so close to them. And he just could not stop himself from thinking about this and talking about this to me. So I said, yeah, this is something that I learned from my father and my mother. Whenever they used to visit our relatives in other states, we have relatives in many states of India. Our families, both sides, are large families. So pretty much anywhere you go, we have people from our extended families living there. So whenever they go, especially when they go to Kerala, which is where our roots are, they make it a point to visit all the elderly people in the surroundings. So that because the reasoning being, after a certain age, anything can happen at any time. You can't predict what will happen to someone, and we should then not carry the regret of not having seen them when we had an opportunity and paid our respects. I mean, this is part of our culture, so we respect our elders, and especially in the times of my mom and dad, the population itself was much smaller, and our community per se is a small community. So there is a lot of interconnection and distant relationships in all the families. So all the more reason they were very particular that they didn't miss out on these visits. So I told him, this is something that our family used to follow. You just missed it out. Don't fret. They are not going to misunderstand you. They know where you're coming from. They spoke to you on the phone. You have spoken to them on WhatsApp. You did what you could under the circumstances. You did what you felt right. Okay, maybe you could have done it differently, but don't fret about it. And that conversation went on for nearly an hour. And after he said, yeah, okay. And we cut the call. And we ended the conversation. So what I just want to reiterate here is, there is an old saying, never put off until tomorrow what you can do today. And especially in these kind of matters, concerning family and friends, if you ever feel, sometimes we are connected to our close ones through a sixth sense, a telepathy, so to speak. We don't know. There are so many things which are unexplained in the world. Sometimes, it just crosses our mind. Oh, it's been a long time since I spoke to this person. Let me give him a call, or let me just go visit. And at that time, if we don't take action on that particular thought, that particular feeling, that particular instinct, and it just gets postponed, and maybe a week or 10 days or a month later, you suddenly hear that person is not in this world anymore. You say, oh my God, that day I had a feeling that I should have spoken. I had to speak to him. I didn't do it. Now I'm never going to see him again. It also happened with me, with a friend of my father actually. My father had a 1 week hospitalization before he passed away. And in between that, during one of the days, it was in October. We have the Saraswati Puja in October every year. So it was around that time. And one of his close friends from the Lions Club, he had dropped in one night to just see him. My father was in the ICU. He wasn't very conscious. Occasionally he would open his eyes and barely register. He could hardly speak. And he had dozed off. It was around 9 o'clock, 9:30. So when my uncle came in, I told him, yeah, father's already gone to sleep. You can see him, but he won't be able to respond to you. And he said, okay, no problem. So this gentleman every year, goes to Kerala for this Ayudha Puja, Saraswati Puja celebrations. And they have a function in the temple and all that. So he said, okay, I'll come see him on my return. And he left, and 2 days later my father passed away. And by the time this person came back, it was all over. And so to this day, I remember that with a little bit of a lump in my throat, because I could have just allowed him in and told him, go have a look. I mean, who knows, if we had tapped him, father might have woken up and they might have just exchanged a smile at least. So I denied someone else the opportunity of seeing my dad just before he passed away. Even now, it brings a lump to my throat. Anyway, so that's the lesson, friends. Never ever postpone these little things, because you never know that one chance might have been your last chance. This is not only true with these kind of things, it's also true with life itself. There are many instances when we get an instinct that, okay, we should do this today. If you get that instinct, please go ahead and do it, because that may change your life. That may be that one life-changing decision which you make. Never ignore your inner instinct, because that is there to tell you something important. Never push it aside, feeling that, okay, that I can do later. First, let me finish this. That would be a very grave mistake. This is something which I just thought I'll share to you. Maybe a little sad, but yeah, sadness is part of life, isn't it? Sadness and joy go hand in hand. If it is not for one, we would learn to appreciate the other. That's it for now. Unfortunately, today I can't show you the sunset because of the rain. Anyway, until next time, stay home, stay safe, get vaccinated, and whatever be the surroundings or the circumstances, keep smiling. Ta-da!